Welcome to our Rapid Fire Wednesday Q&A for corporate immigration professionals. I'm Kimberley Robidoux, a partner in our San Diego office, and I'm joined today, as always, by Miki Matrician, who is our co-managing partner at the Boston office. How are you doing today, Miki?
Hi, Kim. Good to see you.
Great. So today we're going to discuss the new registration requirement that became effective last Friday, April 11th. So this registration requirement was implemented based upon the January 20th executive order called Protecting the American People Against Invasion. USCIS requires certain foreign nationals to register via their USCIS online account, and several organizations banded together to file a lawsuit to ask a judge to issue a temporary restraining order in order to block this rule from being implemented. However, and unfortunately, the judge did not issue the requested TRO, and so the rule has gone into effect, which was April 11th. So, Mickey, can you explain what the requirement is with respect to this registration and who it applies to?
Yeah, the rule requires that people who have not yet been registered submit an online registration form. So I think it's helpful to first talk about who has been registered. So lawful permanent residents, I-94 recipients, EAD holders, and people who are in removal proceedings are already registered since they've already been fingerprinted. So because they have been registered, they don't need to do anything further with this new system. And then the people who are not yet registered and therefore have to register through the online system are people without I-94s, basically undocumented immigrants, some DACA and TPS applicants, and Canadian visitors who come through a land port of entry and intend to remain in the US for 30 days or more. So, for the most part, foreign national workers with I-94s and EADs don't need to do anything further with this registration rule. Even if their visas have expired since entering the US, they don't need to re register online. And then I want to just pause and address the category of children under 14 years of age because there's been a lot of confusion over that. The regulations basically say that all foreign nationals who have I-94s and visa stamps are considered registered. So children under 14 years of age should be considered registered and don't need to do anything further with this new process. However, it's worth noting that for children who entered the US when they were under 14 years of age and have since turned 14 would need to register within 30 days of turning 14. So this is even if they had I-94s, they need to re-register within 30 days after turning 14, and parents can do the registration for their children. And then for lawful permanent resident children who turn 14, they need to file Forms I-90 with USCIS, which is a different requirement.
Right. Thanks for breaking that down, Mickey. I know it's really confusing with reading it in the regulations, and then there's been some different guidance out there, just interpretation. So I appreciate you breaking it down. It's a lot of reading and rereading and like a puzzle. So now that you've broken that down, for the people who are required to register, how do they register under this process?
Yep. So they need to create a USCIS online account on myUSCIS and submit the Form G-325R. Basically asks for biographic information. For parents or legal guardian of children who are required to register, they need to create a separate account for the child and submit the child's G-325R.
So, Mickey, after the registration has been submitted via the myUSCIS account, my understanding is that USCIS will schedule a biometrics appointment, and the foreign national will then need to attend the appointment to provide fingerprints, photo, and a signature. So, once the registration and the biometrics are complete, USCIS will then provide proof of registration via the USCIS online account. And individuals must then print and carry that record of registration as evidence that they have, in fact, complied with the registration requirement. So, for foreign nationals like Canadian non immigrants who are required to register, but for whom the fingerprint requirement is waived, once they register via the Form G-325R online, the USCIS system will trigger the creation of the proof of alien registration. So that's what the document's called, proof of alien registration. And then this proof of registration document will then be posted to their myUSCIS account, and they should carry this with them as proof of registration. So, Miki, is there any other requirement that people should know about in connection with this rule?
Yeah, so non citizens must carry their registration document at all times. So if it's the I 94, people should print their I 94 and carry it. If it's through registration on the system, they should carry that proof of registration. And there's another requirement that's been on the books as well, but people should be aware of. For people who change addresses, there's a requirement to file online Form AR11 within 10 days of the move.
So, are there any penalties for not complying with these rules?
Yes. So the regulations state that for the registration requirement, willful failure to comply could result in a fine of up to $5,000 and imprisonment of up to 6 months. Failure to carry evidence of registration is associated with the same penalty as the failure to register. And then, as for the change of address, failure to comply with those rules is a fine of up to $5,000 and imprisonment of up to 30 days.
Thanks. So, some pretty significant penalties for failing to do the change of address or the registration when required. So, we hope everybody reads up with what they need to do. And if they have any questions, to reach out to counsel. I guess that's a wrap for today's session. Stay tuned for future episodes on updates to the immigration landscape in the US. And if you don't already, please follow us on our LinkedIn page for WR Immigration, as well as our individual profiles. And we also transcribe each and every episode and post it to a weekly newsletter that you can subscribe to. The link to subscribe will be in the video description. So until next week, have a great rest of your week, Miki. Good to see you.
Thanks, Kim.